Our theme for the month of December is light. And of course, we've been talking all about the qualities of God all year round. And so this time we're talking about light. And the idea today is today I bless and heal. So as the light, I am both a blessing and a healing. Today I bless and heal. Say that with me. Today I bless and heal. You are either blessing and healing, or you're doing the opposite. You're either a blessing, or you know the opposite is a curse. We don't even believe in curses, but nevertheless, either you're bringing light into a room, or you're dimming the light that's already in the room. And so for us, what we know, one of the reasons that we choose light at this time of the year is the ancients worshipped the sun, the light, because at this time of year it was getting dimmer and dimmer and receding their ability to see it. But we take it as a different meaning. We take the word light as the meaning of wisdom, the love, the God qualities that you are. That's the light that you are. And that light is visible. Reverend Dave had a talk one Wednesday night just a while ago called Let There Be Light. He talked all about the physical properties of light and how it is, etc. And it's very true. We're not going to go there at all, but it seems like the same light. It seems like the same light. And those of you who've been around people who make their transition, when they make the transition, the light goes out. The life force within is no longer there. When someone is vitally alive, there's a huge life force that is there. And the first time I saw it, it was very interesting because, if you go to the optometrist or ophthalmologist, they'll say, do you see auras? And it's a bad thing if you do. They'll check your eyes and try to correct for aura seeing. Well, I didn't know it was a bad thing. It happened for me. It was a spiritual experience. I was sitting in an INTA, International New Thought Alliance conference. And all these wonderful speakers, Dr. Tom Costa, Frank Richelieu, Fred Vogt, and one after another, speaking for an hour or so on these principles. I was vitally alive, and I kept moving closer and closer until I was right in the front row, and I could never see their faces. So I complained to the people in the lighting, and I said, could you adjust the lighting? The lighting is so bright, I can't see their faces. And oh, what a sense of humor we have. Thank you, Andy. So if you can't see my face, that it's different from them. They said they're not lit. There is no lighting on their faces. The lighting was coming from me seeing the spirit in them emanating so brightly that I couldn't see their physical appearance. I could just hear these wonderful words of wisdom. So truly, and I don't see it all the time, but if I sit still for hours and am inspired by something inspirational, of course I'll see it. Because for me, it's a natural, normal thing. You don't have to believe that. None of you have to believe that. That's not part of our principle at all. It's simply something I wanted to start with because for me, it is a very real thing, this experience. When you're in the groove of your spiritual wholeness, your being changes. You lighten up. And you're much, much more beautiful than you would have been if you were grumpy and crabby and all of those other things. So I've had a really wonderful, interesting week. It was up and down in absolutely every way. And my sister's mother-in-law passed, and her funeral was last Tuesday. So, of course, that means my nieces and nephews that's their grandma. And of course, they were upset, even though she'd had a very severe dementia by the time she passed. And what it does, my sister said, it brought up the best in people and the worst in people. the best in people and the worst in people, which sometimes it does. So we go back to our affirmation, realizing that the universe has bestowed upon me the divine right to be affected by my own act. Today, I guard all my thoughts, seeing to it that nothing emanates from my consciousness other than that which blesses and heals. If nothing goes forth from me that can hurt, then nothing can return to me that can harm. The knowledge of this truth makes me wise. Those are directly Ernest Holmes' words from our book, 365. It's from today, that today I choose to bless and heal. I choose that the words that go from me are words that not only don't harm, but that heal, that bless, that my words are words of acknowledgement of people's goodness, of the light in them. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. However, did I hear the darkness rumbling? Did the shadows make noise? Yes, they did. I heard them many places. And because it's a kind of, this month is a month that people will be experience great bliss and joy, and other people will be experience resistance and sadness. And sometimes because we've had life changes this year that make it not the same as every other year. Okay, and my mentor, I had my work with my mentor who, okay. She asked me if I had ever talked about the 3 R's, and I didn't even know what she was talking about. She said her teacher, who was Dr. Stuart Grayson in New York City, always taught the 3 R's. The 3 R's, which are unconscious blocks to our light. You don't know you have them. They're unconscious, but they're blocking your light. And in fact, they become projections. You see it in other people, the thing that you won't look at in yourself, and I do the same thing. The thing that I won't look at in myself, then another person has to show up in my life, and how I respond is through one of these 3 R's. So I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll go through them all. So they are resist, reject, and rebel. Resist, reject, and rebel. So resist, we know what you resist persists. And you know that if you're trying to keep something away, if you're resisting it, if you're pretending it's not there, it's more there than ever. A few weeks ago, I had a little cut on my nose, and that thing wouldn't stop bleeding. Why? Because I was resisting it. Once I just forgot about it, it stopped. What you resist persists. So if you're resisting something in your life, I'm really encouraging you today to choose to have more light. Sometimes this shows up as what other people are doing or saying or telling you how you should be different. And you shouldn't be different. You should be however you are. And they should be however they are. And that's that. Nothing very complicated about it. Just be who you are, and that's that. So, resistance, defined in dictionary.com as, is to stand firm against, not yield to fight against, to withstand the deleterious action of, to be proof against, to resist corrosion, to oppose, refuse to accept or comply with, to refrain from. So how this sometimes shows up in a center is, okay, I'm not going to speak directly about something. I'll just resist it. I'll refrain from it. I won't do that. Years ago in on one of our board retreats, and I think it was Kathy Hearn, but it might not have been, and whoever were the board members at it might go back, Fred, to you or Kirsten, I don't know, but we had this wonderful retreat, and the leader gave us a sheet of paper with a story on it called The Two Buckets. And the story is simply this, that every human being has two buckets. And those two buckets are filled with, metaphysically, they're filled with gasoline and water. One with gasoline, one with water. And your job as a human being is to go through life deciding whether you're going to pour gasoline on whatever it is that has been said to you and inflame it, or whether you're going to douse it with water and put it out. Whether you're going to, see, I think it's human nature. We kind of like knowing about each other. But when we gossip, for instance, when we talk about each other in a negative way, what we're doing is we're pouring gasoline onto that thing. Whereas if we just said, I'm not going to add to this or whatever, if we're just, or, excuse me, I have to take a phone call or make a phone call or whatever and step out of that, then it's like pouring water on the smoldering flame. It's up to you. It really is up to you. The next one is reject. And it is resisting. It's resisting, reject. The next law of our being is that the ego must not be rejected. We must feel wanted, needed, and loved. But what must be rejected are the things that are not true about ourselves or about another person. So to say that's not true, to refuse to accept, to submit to refuse to consider or grant, to refuse to recognize or give, to discard as defective or useless, to spit out or vomit. Pretty, huh? Okay, so to reject. There's a story, this is a great time of year to remind you of this story of Noah. So the story of Noah is that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and they're all in the boat. All the animals, all the family in this boat together, however many cubits it was. But it was still like being in one place. Now, those of you who had family for Thanksgiving, imagine this, 190 days in the same place. That was the story for Noah. 140 days it rained, and then 150 more days before they found dry land that they could get out of the boat. Now imagine how maybe irritated one might feel, et cetera, because certainly family is a place that sometimes we let our buttons be pushed. So what did Noah do? As soon as he got off the boat, he got drunk. He did. And he did. And we can understand how he might just want to let loose and not be with all those family people telling him that, why hasn't he found land yet? And how come they did this in the first place? So he got drunk, and he was drunk and naked. And that would have been a shameful thing. And his youngest son found him, and he went and told everybody. He told I guess the wives and whoever else was around, if they found any other people there, but he told everybody, which was an unkind thing to do. It's pouring the gasoline on. Totally unnecessary. The older two sons came in, and rather than seeing their father naked, they respectfully backed into the tent with the blankets and covered him up somehow without looking at his nakedness. Anyway, they were respectful and didn't pass on his shame, didn't tell the story to others. And it says that Noah then blessed those two sons, but said for the first son, the youngest son, that all of his children and thereafter would be cursed because of his unkindness. And I'm sure we don't believe in that either. However, think about it. If we gossip, if we tell that, just can't stop ourselves from telling that juicy whatever that story is, then what happens is we've now rejected someone. And in Noah's case, we're probably one of the most human acts. And isn't it really always that way? We're all human. Jesus said, the one who is without sin, you cast the first stone. Which one of us have never made a mistake? Okay, so reject is not, we don't want to reject either. And then rebel. So rebel is to refuse allegiance to and oppose to by force an established government or ruling authority, to resist or defy an authority or a generally accepted convention, to feel or express strong unwillingness or repugnance. So to rebel. And of course, for people my age, the ultimate rebel was Rebel Without a Cause, James Dean in it. And those of you who are younger have no clue why this was such an important movie, but it was a really important movie because, well, the whole thing is, even though we could see why he would rebel and why we as teenagers would be attracted to that consciousness, everything about him was self-defeating. It ended up being self-defeating. So instead of the 3 R's, what can we do? Because obviously you didn't come here to learn just what not to do. In fact, we already have an inner light that tells us what not to do. And here are my 3 ideas for you. First of all, bless and accept absolutely everything just the way it is. I bless you and I accept you just the way you are. Think of someone that you have an issue with right now and just say aloud with me, I bless you and accept you just the way you are. Once more, I bless you and accept you just the way you are. What you've now done is to bless somebody means to confer prosperity on them. It says, you're good just the way you are. Just the way you are. I'm raising you up, and I'll get to that in a minute. And the second idea is to forgive yourself or anyone else who hasn't met your standards, who's disappointed you, whose unskillful behavior. Remember the story of the queen last week? She couldn't find one evil person. There is no evil person. There's skilled people and unskilled people. And we're just on a journey learning to be more and more skilled, more and more loving toward one another. And so we forgive ourselves, first of all, and then we forgive anyone who's harmed us in any way. Or anyone that we think has harmed us in any way, because that's all it really is. And then the last one is to raise and praise absolutely everybody. So instead of gossiping about that person who's going through a hard time right now, there's something you can do, and it's just called raising and praising, and it's a song that we do when we're doing the co-creation work. And I'm not going to sing it, but Reverend Judy might sing it. Anyway, it's simply, I raise you, and whatever that person's name is, I praise you in the name of love. I raise you, I praise you in the name of love. And when we do it in co-creation, we do it 3 times, and we go namaste to it. My mentor said, no, 70 times. It only takes you 5 minutes. Well, it took me 15 minutes to sing that thing 70 times. 70 times, because Jesus said, when asked, how many times must I forgive? 70 times 7. So do all of your practice 70 times. It's a tiny little practice. It won't take long at all. But if someone is annoying you, rather than putting gasoline on that annoyance, what would it be like if instead you raised and praised that person? They don't ever need to know. If you raised and praised them 70 times before you met with them, before that meeting, before that phone call, before whatever it is that you were going to do, and to raise and praise. So I raise you. Let's take ourselves first of all, because usually the one we're hardest on is right here. It's the person sitting in your chair. It's not the other person that sat down in your chair. It's you. It's you. So Let's just say it together. And you say your name, I'll say, I raise you, Heather. I praise you, Heather, in the name of love. Let's say it again. I raise you, Heather. I praise you, Heather, in the name of love. And say it one last time. I raise you, Heather. I praise you, Heather, in the name of love. And now feel the light emanating from you. The Lakota have 3 songs. They're little short songs, 2-liners, and I'm going to close with them. Again, I'm not singing. I don't even know this melody. So, may the sun rise in splendor. May the earth appear in light. May the sun rise in splendor. May the earth appear in light. And the second song is, a wind wears me. Look, it is sacred. A wind wears me. Look, it is sacred. And the last one. A rainbow hoop wears me. Everybody sees me coming. A rainbow hoop wears me. Everybody sees me coming. You are the light. You are here to bless and heal. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. And once more,